Hi. Um, in the last two videos, we talked about step one preparation and the resources that are available and what has been proven to work. And I guess for step one, the preparation is more precise and we know the resources that are really high yield. But for step two CK, it's more of what really works for an individual. And I definitely checked on so many resources before like I decided to use what I used. And I hope I get to talk about how I prepared and the resources that I used. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it because it's not, I don't have so much to talk about in step 2 CK. So I just hope that I'll have enough time to talk about even the preparation bit. And I'm thinking maybe to just mix it up all together. And then we see how it goes. So when I finished my step one, I was hopeful that I would do step 2 CK immediately or maybe 3 months later. So that was the original plan. But then I ended up staying for more than 1 year before I did my step 2 CK. And I think it was more of I wasn't mentally stable to do maybe the exam, plus the logistics that were there for me to do the exam were not really in place. So during that period of time, for about 6 months, I think it took about 6 months, I was just looking at the resources, but in the meantime I was just doing study mode UWorld for about 6 months and just cross-checking with my first aid for step one. Definitely before that I downloaded these, I had these books, I had Master the Boards, I had White Coat Companion, I had first aid for step 1 to step 2 CK, and also for step 1 I also had Shizuket notes and I had Inner Circle notes. These are just kind of textbooks that have step 2 CK knowledge. So let me just talk about each of these textbooks, and we see what I ended up choosing in the long run. So first aid for step 1 is just that one resource that you will always have it. People say it's the Bible for step 1. It's also the Bible for step 2 and for step 3. You still need it. So it's baseline for me, and I still use it very much. And then we have first aid for step 2 CK. It's a great resource, but for the most part, people see that these textbooks are outdated, so people don't recommend using these textbooks apart from first aid. So I used first aid for step 2 CK just to check for prenatal testing for women who are pregnant, to see what is out there, what is done, and at what age is that done, or at what gestation are these particular tests done. I guess that's when I used first aid for step 2 CK. I otherwise just perused it, but I don't remember using it at all. I also went through Master the Boards. I just perused, but I don't remember. I do not think that my mind after step 1 was able to sit down and read a textbook. So I looked at White Coat Companion, I looked at Master the Boards. They are concise, they are very organized, and especially for Master the Boards, concise, very organized. First aid for step 2 CK, they are all great resources, but I didn't just have the energy to sit down and read a textbook. I also looked at Shizukat notes. I used it for a period of time, and especially for obstetrics and gynecology. And Shizukat notes is just a combination of UWorld plus AMBOS plus online method, a whole resource that combines all that, and it's available for all those obs, IMED, PEDS, psychiatry, biostatistics, and then IMED and surgery just overlap. It was last updated in 2021, so people say it's outdated, so people don't recommend using it. And then Inner Circle note, it's just Shizukat notes, but it's more condensed, and apparently you can add your notes onto it. I didn't get to check onto inner circle notes, but I think I had it, but I didn't look at it. And people recommend using inner circle notes because you can add your notes onto it, and probably you can end up updating it to what you think is the current recommendations for something. I however used Shizukat notes again just for obs, just to check a few things here and there, and because you always have that aching desire to have a textbook or a resource that you can always look into. And because I had Shizukat notes had UWorld plus Ambos plus online method, I decided to just check on it and see if it can really be resourceful to me. And because sometimes when you're going through UWorld, you just want to check onto something, but again, UWorld just has the flowcharts that you'll still need, so you always don't need to look at any notes anyway. The other thing that I used are videos or podcasts from different places. I looked into them. I looked into Dr. Hild, but I didn't have the patience to listen, but I just looked into it. It's a great resource. It's worth listening. I am told it's actually Hild, just as he mentions. And then there's Emma Holiday videos, also from YouTube. Very great resource. If you have time, look into them and just check and pick what you find useful to you. What I ended up using though is Divine Intervention podcast. I downloaded everything that I felt had step 2 CK material in step 3, I guess, and I listened to that podcast for anytime that I was idle, anytime that I needed to listen to anything, anytime that I was traveling, anytime that I was preparing food. I used to listen to Divine Intervention podcast. And he has videos, just a few, I guess, that are available in YouTube, but most of it is just audios available in his website. You just Google Divine Intervention podcast and you'll find the audios there. And for me, the information there is great. I cannot overemphasize Divine Intervention podcast. And then for the Q banks, we have UWorld, Embos, CMS, Forms, and then NBMEs. For what I used, if you want to use Embos, it's still a great resource, and especially for Step 2 CK, which has a lot of ethics and quality improvement and biostatistics and so many weird stuff. Embos is really a great resource. I would not downgrade it. There are people who use just Embos and they did so well, and you cannot say that Embos is as updated because it has just the correct guidelines to how to manage different conditions and what to do. However, I personally like to use the flow. I'm used to the flow charts that are available from UWorld, so I preferred to use UWorld over Ambos just because of at least I'm familiar with. UWorld has some good flow charts for so many things, and especially now like if you find a thyroid nodule, what should you do? Should you do TSH? Should you do FNA? Should you do an ultrasound first? Should you do a biopsy? What do you do? So UWorld has a more precise flowcharts for my use, so I ended up using UWorld. But again, I did not forget to use Embos for what it has, for ethics, for quality improvement, my biostatistics stuff. I did that all from Ambos, yes. And then the other thing that is out there is CMS Forms. CMS Forms is just questions set by the NBMEs. They're normally used for shelf review. Shelf review is if I'm a med student in the US, in maybe my 3rd to 4th year, and I'm studying pediatrics, and I want to do my pediatrics shelf, I just go through CMS Forms from around, I guess it's from around 3 to 8. There are 3 to 8, 50 questions each. So you go through that, for instance, and then they're also available for psychiatry, surgery, IMED, emergency medicine, and and I think in psychiatry, yes. So it's about eight blocks of 50 questions, and they are each separated. So let's say CMS 3 for PIDS is 50 questions, CMS 4 is 50 questions, that way. If you go through them, people prefer going through CMS 7 to 8, for which are updated. And for me, I just went through, I guess, all of them because I had the time, and I felt like it was just important for me to see how things are done and how questions can be set. So it's high yield, it's good to go through it, and especially if you're going to do your exam, just make sure you go through CMS 7 and 8. If you don't have the time, just make sure you just do 7 and 8 for the different subjects. The other resource that I recommend highly, and you can never over recommend it, is NBMEs. And for the most part, I think I personally have never done more than 50% of UWorld. Even for step 1, I don't think I even did 40% of UWorld. For step 2, I highly doubt that I even did 30% of UWorld. I normally just do NBMEs very well, and anything that NBMEs, because they're the people who set the exam and they're the people who call the shots. So I prefer going through them, and especially when I'm approaching my exams, I don't like being confused by UWorld in any way. I just do NBMEs, and anything that is NBME, like free 120 and the old free 120s that are available. So my preparation, so I've talked about the QBanks, UWorld, Embos, CMS forms, NBMEs, and then the videos, Divine. I went with Divine, and then for my textbook, I sat with First Aid for step 1, and I looked at Shizuoka a bit, and it wasn't important to me. And I also looked at the other textbooks. They were not as relevant to me as I thought they would be. So I only used First Aid for step 1. I used Divine Intervention podcasts. I used UWorld, and then I used Embos for certain things, and then I did CMS forms fully, and I did NBMEs fully. So for my study time, I took about a year before I did it after step 1, which is not the right thing for someone to do. Ideally, you should just do your step 1 and then you jump into step 2 CK preparation, and then within about, don't exceed 6 months before you do it. For me, it was about the logistics. So when I changed, I did UWorld passively for like 6 months. Like I did it study mode for like 6 months, or I never used to do it. I wasn't consistent, but at least I tried. And then somewhere after that, I felt like, let me just start doing CMS forms. So I started doing CMS forms. So I did CMS forms for about, I would say probably 4 months or so. But then before I started doing my step 2 CK preparation, I did a baseline NBME. It's just good to do, and I think it was NBME 7 or 8, just baseline, or 6, I don't know, just to check where you are, because you're just from step 1 and you need to know what you're missing and what you're short of. So always do a baseline NBME just to see where you are. And then after I did the baseline NBMEs, and then I started my preparation. So like I said, I did UWorld for about 6 months, just doing study mode. And it's because I wasn't really into doing the exam, because I didn't have the logistics to do it. And then for the next 6 months, which is part of the 1 year that I told you, I had a new job, so I wasn't the logistics of doing the exam again. I was in a very remote part of the country, and it would be very hard for me to plan to travel, and even the timing, the breaks, and the free time I had was very limited. So I had to start working things out. But during that period of time, I started doing the moment I landed into my new workplace, I started doing the CMS forms until I was done with the CMS forms. And then that's when I started doing my NBMEs back to back. At the same time, I remembered for even U World Step 2CK, I think I did that, but I wasn't so serious about it. I did it also probably on study mode. I don't remember doing it as serious as you'd want me to do it, but I did NBMEs. I was so focused on NBMEs. I did NBMEs, and I tried. I used to pass. I don't remember really like getting below like 70s as such. I used to get above 70s. So that's what I did for the most part. As I neared my preparation, I just revised NBMEs again, and then the information from the CMS forms for those things that I felt like I needed to write down, I used to write them down. I struggled with what I needed to remember. So there are things that you need to remember, and that's mostly for OBS, and especially the cardiotocogram. I used to write them down, what I found in the NBMEs and the patient presentation and what was on the CTG. So I used to write down, this is how it should look, this is how it should look in a notebook. And those are the notes that I had. And then also I was struggling with the CNS radiculopathies, and then where a lesion is, I guess, is it the nerve that is compressed, or this spinal stenosis stuff. So I was struggling with those ones. So I used to just take notes on that also. So those are the few things that I took notes on and I went through before my exam. So I did. So I went through for those ones. Actually, I went through the stenosis stuff and the spinal stuff. But those ones are all from UWorld. Those notes are just from UWorld. And then there's nothing really like important from this Step 2CK preparation. It's really precise, and even for like first aid, it was just to check and to confirm stuff. The first aid for Step 1, it was always just a go-to resource to just confirm a few things here and there. But for the most part, it was just I did UWorld passively or on study mode, and then I turned into CMS forms, and I did my CMS forms completely, and then I turned into NBMEs, and then I started doing NBMEs, especially over the weekends when I was free, is when I used to wake up and do NBMEs and then revise it when I'm at work. So when I'm at work, when I don't have a patient, I used to make sure I do like 40 NBME questions. I just make sure I'm revising 40 NBME questions just to make sure I'm doing something at least every single day, and that's actually what worked for me. And then sometimes when it reached around, I guess it was around May or April, I was like, I have to sit for this exam because I felt like I'm taking too long. And sometimes when you finish your Step 1, you feel so great that you really passed it, so you become a bit lazy and hesitant to continue with your preparation. And sometimes it's just because you are so tired and you are so mentally exhausted. But it's just good to be done with Step 2CK. The moment you start doing your Step 1, and you'll want to be done with the rest of the USMLEs, because this thing is it just eats you up in all ways. Yeah. So I booked my exam and showed up more of the same way. For this, I guess you'll understand, you really will use your mind a lot, because you want to know what is the next step I should take for this patient. What should I do? It's more of that than really what you know. It's what is the best next step for this patient. So you may know a question, but sometimes you may not know, like depending on their presentation. Sometimes the next best step may just be putting an IV line, or the next best step may just be doing a fifth intercostal space mid clavicular line, or second intercostal space mid clavicular line, just putting a needle. Yeah, so I don't have really anything specific. It's just trusting yourself that your step one was solid, and you know the next best step for what was there in step one. Yeah, like for the basic sciences and for the what is this pathology, you know what is the next best step for a patient in step 2 CK. I think it's more of that. I know there are drug ads which are very complicated stuff that for me I just did it. I left it for the last. And for drug ads, the answer is always there. If you read it very well, the answer is somewhere just around there. Yeah. So for me, I went and did the exam and realized I had passed. I didn't score so highly, but then I got what I needed, and what I got helped me to secure a place. Yeah. So thank you so much. The next time I think I'll just talk about OET preparation, or I'll talk about the match if I don't feel like talking about OET, because I think there's not really so much to talk about OET. It's also like it's just about what you decide to do, because it's just an English test anyway, but you need to prepare for it. Thank you so much.